All right, here we go. Welcome, everybody. We are in the AO Scanner Simplified course. We have been doing this now for, I think this is 17 weeks. I think. I keep losing count. But this is where it gets real exciting to me because we have gone through all of the various areas of the scanner, all of the different modules. And this is where we're putting pieces together and doing some case studies. And so what we're going to be doing today is just trying to see, how do you pick out these trends? How do you put these nuances of things together and make all of this blend and make all of this work? And so I'm in location number 2, Dr. Darrell location number 2 today. I don't have all of my buttons in front of me that I normally have to switch angles and things. I have a couple of different things, angles, but I don't have all of my other cameras and things like that. But it's fine because most of what I'm doing today, I'm going to be writing, I'm going to be looking at scans and looking at reports and just kind of bringing things together. And so this is what this is all about. Really quickly, we do have people who are peeking in to our class today. So there are two different sides. One side, these are people who are actually in the class. They're in the classroom. And so for those people, they will join us at certain points. And they'll bring in, we'll be talking and things of that nature. And then some of you are just watching. Some of this won't make sense to you if you're just peeking in our class, and I apologize. But I'm hoping that you can just grab a little nuance of information out of this that might help you in what it is that you're doing. And if you desire to come in and join us in this class, you can. The class has been going on for a while, and we are... the class will be available forever. I mean, people will still be able to join it, but it won't be as low as the founding people because these people help to make the class. But no need to do any of that. Just if you're able to grab some information off of what I'm teaching right now, do it, because the concepts are the same regardless to what area that you use to learn. So, inner voice is the foundational tool. Many of you, I guess everybody who's watching probably has access to the AO scanner, and so they know about inner voice. And there's a whole Solex University inner voice course that's out there too for you guys to get some concept of what's taught in this larger AO scan class. And one of the things that I am constantly teaching about inner voice is that when you are looking at those numbers on the inner voice, sometimes I have clients that I don't have them listen to all of their tones, because sometimes certain tones are, they stand out from a numerical standpoint. And in my original portion of the AO Scanner Simplified course, I said, look at the specifics of the numbers and look and see whether or not one jumps out. Meaning, if you have a high that's really, really high and it's different from the rest of them, or if the one that's all the way at the bottom is a big jump from the others. And basically, I was having you just kind of look at it and see what stood out. Well, today that ends. You no longer have to figure it out on your own. And so one of the things I've been working for in the background for a while is to create ways for you to track things. And that's what I've been working about. So recently, we introduced to the members of the class an AO scan or an inner voice tracker, so you could just kind of see what stood out. And on that tracker was meridians and chakras. And there were ways to go in there to store your information, and then you'd be able to look after a while just to see, oh, this is showing up more than others, and this is showing up more than others. Well, today the complete book is done, or at least for the starters. So I am going to be utilizing that in order to look through these case studies and see what's where and what's going on. And so we have the inner voice. We can store which notes continue to show up out of balance. And we also have the vitals in there now. And we have the comprehensive in there now. And so you will now be able if you desire to save all of your information and look and see in real time which things are showing out of balance the most. I'm going to show all of you this in a moment. But first, let me say that I don't think that it's necessary to do any of this. If you're not chasing a situation where I'm trying to figure out there's something going on and I don't know what areas of my body are weak, if that's not your dilemma, or if you're not a practitioner, or there's not some other larger area going on, or maybe you're just really, really curious. If that's the case, utilize these tools that I'm about to offer you or give you. If that's not the case, scan, optimize, listen to your tones, and let your body resonate on a new frequency and heal. I don't want anybody to think that these things are necessary in order to get healing. But for many of us, we do want to track these things. And for those of you who want to track it, I want to make sure that those of you who are students of mine have a way to do it. Also, what number stands out? What number is standing out? So let me pull up my latest inner voice scan. I'll start with myself, and then after me, I'm going to go to Debbie. So Debbie, get that inner voice scan of yours ready. And then I'm going to go to my two case studies, and we're going to look through a bunch of different things. All right, let me do this. All right, so this is my latest inner voice scan for today. And so you have these notes on the top. And prior to now, I would have looked at this and I would have said that 21 definitely stands out. But I am going to just write these notes of mine down because, again, I'm not at home, so I can't do this in the way that I would like to do it. I'm going to just have to write it down. 9.4, 13.6, 12.5, 11.2, 6.1, 11.6, 21.1, 7.2, 7.7, 7.0, 15.8, and 10. All right. So I got those. And now let's go to this new spreadsheet. I'll explain other parts of the spreadsheet as we go along. But for those of you who have already been there, you know that this part down here at the bottom, this was your inner voice tracker. Ignore that for a second. This allows you to track which 4 notes are constantly coming up for you. You now have this inner voice tracker at the top. So if there's only going to be one level of this. This isn't something that you keep track of, because the purpose of what I'm about to show you, the purpose is so you can know today, right now, which notes are the most important for either trying to figure out a plan for yourself or trying to figure out whether or not one of the notes is more important than the others. All right? So I am going to just delete this because that's the last set that I put in. I'm just highlighting that and I'm going to press the delete button. So now we are back with nothing there. And I'm just going to input these numbers. These numbers appear here. I'm going to be going back and forth a lot today. These numbers at the top, they appear there in the same order that they will appear on your inner voice scans. That just will make it much easier for you to put those in so you're not constantly trying to figure out what's where, right? So the numbers at the top, they are in the same order as your inner voice scan. Let me just fill in these numbers for mine. 9.4, 13.6, 12.5, 11.2, 6.1, 11.6, 21.1, 7.2, 7.7, 7.0, 15.8, and 10. And I am going to get out of there and magically the numbers change. So what happens is the top 4 numbers that you're going to see on your inner voice scan will be highlighted. The top 3 notes and the bottom 1 note, you're going to see colors in there now, right? And when you look at the ones, so in this case, I have 1 green, I have 2 orange, and I have 1 red. The number that's green, that means that when you see green, it means that that number, that's one of the 4, one of the top 3 or the bottom 1, that number is in sync with your average. So even though inner voice has to give you 4 notes, it's got to give you the top 3 and it has to give you the bottom 1. Prior to now, you didn't have a way to know whether or not the top 3 were critical. Well, maybe you did. Maybe you all did some things and I didn't know about it, but most people didn't have a way to know whether or not the top 3 were critical or not, because it has to give you 4 notes every single time. And so when we look at this C sharp note will appear on my list as one of the 4, but I'm not really concerned about the C sharp because that 13.6 number is in sync with my average. The ones that are orange, these are ones that are going out of range. They're not completely out of range, but they're headed out of range. And then the ones that are red is completely out of range. In this case, I mean, this is just simple math. So you would have looked at that, all of you would have deduced that 21 is a huge high from the average. You all probably would have known that from the very beginning, and you probably would have tagged that 21 number from the start. But now it just kind of does it for you. You don't have to do it. So when I look at this from my vantage point, I have 3 of my 4 numbers are kind of out of balance or screaming. So if I were my own client, if I were the client, this would be an indication of me, just go ahead and use the pulse tones because you really need 3 of the 4. And since you need 3 of the 4, just go ahead and listen to them all. If I'm going to just make up some numbers here because I want to give you other scenarios that could happen. So I am going to change some of these numbers to be in sync with my average. I'm going to change this to 13 and just say it came up 13. And I'm going to change this to 13.2. All right. So let's say for a second that these were the numbers that came up in my average or in my inner voice scan. In this case, you have 3 that are green and 1 that's red. Again, I just made this up so that I could create the scenario that I'm trying to give. And in this case, 21.1 is red, and it's the only one that's not green. If I had a client like this, I would take that 1 note and I would say, well, what is that 1 note? Let me look at it again. That 1 note will be F sharp. I can't see what the balancer to F sharp is, but it would show up on your screen. The balancer to F sharp, I would listen to that note isolated for 10 or 20 minutes. Because now you're dealing with a situation of having only 1 out of the 12 showing up not green. Amy, you wanted to talk about this in particular? If so, hang on a second. Let me get you in here. Don't say anything just yet. Sorry. Why did I keep... Sorry, how do I keep bringing her in? All right, Amy, go ahead. Unmute.
What am I asking?
I thought you said you would. Oh, so you weren't talking to me. I was commenting on, I was responding to, I thought you were saying you wanted to talk to me about this. I apologize.
Oh, sorry.
No, 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 no. It's okay. It's all right. All right. So let me know whether or not that makes sense before we move on as far as this Excel spreadsheet and whether or not you can understand what I am saying in reference to finding out which note is out of balance and whether or not that's something that you guys can see that would be helpful. All right. I am going to ask Debbie to come on here because Debbie, before we started, she wanted to get in on this, and I asked her if she would take her last inner voice scan and come on with us. And if so, Debbie, you should be able to unmute at this point.
I think I'm unmuted. I can't tell if it's sharing my screen.
It's not. You're not. Your camera isn't on for sure. Oh no, I don't need you to share your screen. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I don't need you to share your screen. I just need to know what the numbers are.
Okay.
All right, hang on a second. Let me get back over here.
This is, by the way, very cool.
Good. All right, let's go with your numbers as they appear on the AO scan, starting with C. Go ahead.
Okay, so it's 3.1.
Wait, 1 second. You're away from the mic. I can't hear you.
It's 3.1, 2.9, 0.7, 1.4, 1.9, 6.9, 5.3, 0.9, 8.6, 6.2, 2.7, and 1.1.
All right. So all 4 of your notes are needing you. All 4 notes are screaming. All 4 notes are out of sync with what your baseline is from the bottom to the top. And so since they are all red, I would recommend that you listen to your notes for 20 minutes on pulse. I want you to listen to them pulsed, but for 20 minutes instead of 10, because all of your notes are screaming. Now, I will say this. Another thing that I've been teaching in these classes is to look at your inner voice reports and look at the body systems that show on the side. Look at the vitals and things like that. Sometimes I'll say one of them is more important than others. And this is one of those times where I would tell you that it's important that you look at them all. But does that make sense?
Very much so. I love this. And I feel like I've started to get the whole inner voice. I'll do my easy scan in the morning, and then I look at just like the broad strokes on that one, just for, curiosity. And then I go over to the inner voice, and that's where I'll look at my numbers and then kind of usually I don't have much time. So I just am gathering just like if they're all out of kind of running away, or if it's a couple or whatever.
Yeah.
But this makes it even easier.
So much easier, even for me, because there are times when I'm looking at it, and when you're dealing with high numbers or low numbers, the percentage of distance changes. And so you just guess, unless you're a mathematician, you're just guessing in your head, okay, I do think that this one, it's clearly a bit further. This makes it easier even for me, and I can look at this and just quickly know whether or not. And sometimes, I will say this, sometimes you're going to get all 4 of your numbers green, because that's showing that it has to give you 4 notes, but they're balanced today. That doesn't mean you're perfect. That doesn't mean you're well, but it means that the numerical values are balanced. One of them isn't showing that it's screaming more than the other, and then you can work on it from a different perspective that day.
Well, I love how this shows you even like then if I'm looking at like what's not in balance, then I drop down to just that where that is as far as all the different things, the
Yes.
suggestions that it has. And it
Yes.
makes it so
And
much
then
easier
that
because
one report will come alive for you.
yeah,
Unfortunately, all
exactly.
four of your
Yep.
reports are alive. But if it's just one, it makes that one report come so much more alive. I would take then the suggestions in that one to heart a little bit more.
Yep.
And it just makes everything so much better. I do want to warn you all about something. Sometimes because this is just numbers. This isn't quantum anything. This is just numbers. So every once in a while, the scanner will give a couple of numbers that are exactly the same. And if that happens, you might have 5 things that come up on here where only 4 things came up on the AO scanner or inside of Inner Voice. It's because there's a numerical value to it. So like, let's look at like her D note was 0.7, right? Technically that might have been 0.714331, but it kind of averaged it up. We don't see that far into it. It only gives us so many actual numbers. If that happens, then you just have to just say, okay, well, 5 came up, but then just reference the 4 that are there because the system knows the full extent of the numerical value. We're only dealing with what we're being given. All right. So there. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Love it. Thank you.
All right. Let me go down here to questions. First of all, let me get this out. And then we're going to go into our actual case studies. I'm not quite understanding how the numbers are being tracked in relation to the other scans. Do you delete the numbers each time you scan and input them? Yes, because it's not necessary to track the actual number because they're going to change every time. The only reason that you're doing that one is to see for right now, what am I going to do? Right now, am I going to listen to all my scans or all of my tones? Or am I going to listen to some of my tones? Am I going to pay attention to all 4 things today and come up with a treatment plan? Or am I only going to, is one of them going to show that it's going to be more important? That is something that is irrelevant the next time you do a scan. Absolutely irrelevant. Now, let me, though, come back over here and show you this, though. So when you want to track what has been out of balance, that is this portion here in the center, which you've already been doing. So let's say that, this is somebody else's scan, but let's say that I wanted to, I was tracking it. I would just come down here, put in today's date, and then just put X's right where these are. And so D, there's an X. F, put an X. G sharp, put an X. And A, put an X. And when I do that, the percentages change over here to the right, and it will let me know what percentage of times these things are coming up. So if this were a real person, this is a test person, I would know that the note C comes up 60% of the time. And the note C coming up 60% of the time is something that I might want to look into. Once I knew that C came up 60% of the time, I would then go over to the other thing that you all have access to, which is the notes file. And I would find C. I happen to be on C, amazing. And I would look and I would say, C is coming up 60% of the time. What areas of the body does C affect? It affects the muscles. It affects the digestive system. It affects the thyroid. What types of or emotions are being affected by this C? What is the balancer to C? What color? What are the vitals and comprehensive? What vitals and comprehensive might I look at to see whether or not they're being affected by this? What flower essences go good with this note? What Cephis go good with this note? What body systems might I look at? And what am I basing this on? I'm basing this on the fact that here I was able to determine that C is coming up more than others. And so now I have an idea of where to go to support. One of the classes that I'll probably do in the next week is a class that is just on these Excel spreadsheets. All right. Let me come back over here to comments. All right, this is a comment. Where will you be starting a new class? I don't know what you mean by a new class. I do classes literally every... I think that what this person is asking is the AO scanner class, and I'm not going to be starting this over again. This class goes into archives for people to just go back and watch, and then I update the modules as new things come out. Just like people can join the class whenever they want. This is an ongoing class. It'll never end. And so if people join late, then they can go back and watch the other classes. Not quite understanding how the numbers are being tracked. Okay, yeah, that's the one I answered. Do the colors come up automatically? They do once you have completed it and then gotten out of it. So you have to fill all of this in, and then when you get to the last tab, you have to get out of it. And then the numbers will automatically populate. Getting out of it is what gives it its cue to find the median and populate. The sheet will be in the AO Scan Simplified course inside of the downloads module. They're not there yet, but they will be there by the end of today. When I literally just got them and I started inputting my case studies for today, I started putting those in there, and I haven't had a chance to upload them yet. And even at the last minute, I found some glitches. So you all might find some glitches and they might have to be updated. All right. All right. All right, so we are going to move on to case studies. So let me close. Oh, wait, no, before we go to case studies, let me finish explaining this sheet, this Excel spreadsheet. So this particular, this new spreadsheet works in tabs. So you have tabs at the bottom for each part of the spreadsheet. So this tracks inner voice, and you can fill this thing up with a whole bunch of inner voice. I forgot the actual number. And then we have the vitals tracker. Now, there are so many different vitals. For those of you who are new to our class, I don't teach people to track the individual vitals. I teach people to track the sections that the vital comes from. Because if you were to track the individual thing, and that one thing doesn't continue to show out of balance, you'll miss the larger picture that the system is out of balance. So when you have heart ventricle left, well, that might come up one day, and then another ventricle of the heart might come up, and another ventricle of the heart might come up, and you'll say, oh, well, nothing's coming up back to back. Well, the heart is coming up back to back. Certain areas of the heart is constantly showing out of balance. And so since one area of the body or one area of the heart, if it is out of balance and then another area of the heart is out of balance, most of the time you're not going to process that differently. You're going to do the exact same thing. The level of detail in the AO scanner for some people, if you're not a surgeon, can be overwhelming and unnecessary. I'm glad that it's there, but it's information you can't do anything with for the most part. You just need to know whether or not the lungs are in trouble or weak. You need to know whether or not the heart is weak, whether or not the nerves are weak, whether or not the muscles are weak, whether or not the connective tissue is showing issues. All right. So when we look at these vitals, that's what they're boiled down to. Let's see here. I want to try to go in a little bit deeper. So the first column here is the category that you're just putting an X in. The second category here is the percentage of time that out of your scans that this is showing out of balance. And then you start inputting things here. So the very first time you put something in, if you go through and put an X in fruits, in grains, if there's only one thing there, everything is going to show 100% because you only have one tab. And at the very beginning, everything that you put an X in is going to be 100%. But the more you fill this out, the more the reality of your percentages will come to life. Because now what you're doing is you're creating more area for the spreadsheet to work with, and then the true patterns will emerge. That's the reason why someone asked me earlier in our question and answer, how many scans do I like to see before I start trying to figure out a pattern? I like to see 4 or 5, because that is when I'm going to know what percentage of time something is showing out of balance, especially when you're utilizing this. All right. So let me get in here and close this. Oh, no, I wasn't even done. So that is the vitals. We also have the chakras. You input the chakras and put an X when things are out of balance. I tend to put an X when either is out of balance, meaning if it was red or blue before or after, I just want to know whether or not, anytime I don't get a double green, that's the way I put an X. But that's because I'm anal about this and I really want to see when things are showing out of balance. You all can decide for yourself how deeply you want to track this. Some people aren't going to want to track it at all. And it's not necessary to track everything. If you've been in my class for a while, you know that I teach you, find the way that you like to balance the body and just pull up that tab. If you want to balance the body using meridians, ignore everything else and just keep meticulous tabs of the meridians, because that will be the system that you use to balance the body. If you're going to be using Cephis to balance the body, you probably want to keep meticulous tabs of the vitals and the comprehensive. All right. So we are on the chakras tab. You also have the meridians tab. Same concept. You enter the meridians, and then you have the comprehensive tracker. Now, I am going to be suggesting, the comprehensive tracker is by category as well. I am going to be suggesting that when you utilize the comprehensive tracker, the way that I'm going to be using it, you can use it however you want. But the way I'm going to be using it will be off of the easy scan, because it will then show me which areas the system decided it wanted. The easy scan or the multi-scan, the concept of it is the same. It's going to be showing me what system or what areas the AO scanner decided that it wanted to check out, and then what couldn't resonate. And so even if you are doing it, even if you did it from your own, if you went into comprehensive and you did your own comprehensive, I would still go to the easy scan view of that comprehensive in order to just see what remained double red. And there is where I'm going to put the X. And that's what I did for my case studies. All right. All right, I'm now going to close this and show it in real time. And Amy, if you could cut on your camera and unmute so we can go over yours, assuming you're ready. Give me 1 second to pull a couple of things up here. All right. Body systems. I'm just pulling up her files from today. All right. Just make sure this is you. All right, it is. And then let me open up your file, your spreadsheet. All right. Now let me bring Amy in here. So many moving parts to this. All right, Amy, she's already in. All right, Amy, hello, how are you?
Good.
Having a good day? Thank you
Yep.
for putting up with all of my shenanigans as I get this as I get everything ready. All right, let us look at your easy scan for today. Now I have a history of her easy scans for the last, well, I have 5 in there for her. I believe it's 5, 4 or 5. But let's look at the one from today. All right. So her out of balance notes today, or the 4 that it came up, was G, F sharp, G sharp, and B. I got to pull up her actual numbers on a completely different. In fact, let's do that first.
I've been tracking it myself on many different pages.
Oh, really?
I've been tracking all the frequencies I've been using because you asked me to see how I was feeling from last week, and I've been marking on every day what numbers they are, the highest and the lowest, and how I've been feeling that day. And I also used the sheet that you had originally gotten, and I've been like marking all that down. And when they were double reds, I marked that down, and things that I thought were concerning. So it was very interesting seeing how it played out all week long.
Yeah,
Being
watching trends can really be something else.
I just don't know what they all mean.
Well, I don't either, and we may never know what they all mean. You know, that's one of the problems that some people get stuck in, trying to figure out what they mean versus just supporting them. You know, why are my kidneys showing up as needing more energy? Who knows? But if we give them more energy, will the problem resolve itself? Because every time you're dealing with frequencies, you're dealing with frequencies that can't balance. It's either too much energy or it's not enough energy, but for whatever reason it cannot balance. And so figuring out which frequencies can't balance is more important than figuring out why the frequencies can't balance. Because when you figure out which ones can't balance, you can give it the energy to balance, and then the reason as to why they couldn't balance is irrelevant because they're balanced. If that works, if it actually works out. All right, I'm going to just write down your numbers here really quickly. Or do you have your inner voice report up by chance?
My inner voice, yeah, I have it right
All right,
here.
so then you can just tell me. I'll just type it then as you're telling me. That'll be faster.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. Get in here.
Oh, it's right here. You want all of them or just the 4?
Nope, I want all of them.
Okay.
And all right, I'm ready. And I need them in the order, left to right.
Right, so it's 1.0, 1.0, 1.1, 2.4, 3.2, 0.7.
Is that 0.7?
Yes, 0.7, 4.4, 5.7, 4.0, 2.3, 1.4, and 0.4.
All right, so all four of her notes are far enough from the median to be considered red and not orange. And so this is a situation where we're not dealing with the body's system having balanced energy. Overall, there's a lot of low energy and there's some high energy, but there's not balance there. There's not cohesiveness there. It's the body is having trouble transferring energy from one to another. And since all four are red, this would just be one of those situations where I would tell you from the beginning that if you were my client, I would tell you I want you to listen to your tones pulsed, but I want you to listen to them for at least 20 minutes at a time, not 10.
Okay.
Because you need them all, and so there's no reason to isolate them for you. Not one is not more than the other. Now, if you look at this spreadsheet, you'll see that I've already put her notes in for today as far as which ones are out of balance. And this just verified it, meaning when I put the numbers in there, they just matched up right away. So for those of you who are going to track which things are out of balance for someone, it's really easy if you put all of the numbers here while you're doing that to figure out how you're going to, create a wellness plan. Just take the ones that are showing up and just put a little X. I specifically had them lined up with the bottom part that makes it easy for you to know exactly where to place your X's. Now, if you are not doing that, if you're not looking at the numbers at the top in order to figure out exactly what you want to do, because maybe you have a history, it's not necessary to put the numbers in. You can just go to the spreadsheet, put the date in, and then just put the X's where they are. But my point here is, if you're utilizing the top part, I make it so you don't have to overthink it. You don't have to look back at the paper. You can just look at what's highlighted and then just put an X there. Now let's look at Amy's trend from inner voice. Let's see. So I'm gonna move over here. Can you all see this on the side here? I hope you can.
Yeah.
100% of the time since I've been monitoring her, G shows up. G shows up 100% of the time. F sharp shows up 80% of the time. So, what does that mean, Amy? I don't know. So let's look at them. Let's go over here and look at what G and F sharp, what type of things they show us about the body. So I'm going to go over here to the report that we have here that shows us isolating the specific notes. And let's find G. And F sharp. All right, we came across F sharp first. So when we're looking at F sharp, we're looking at, these are the areas that are most affected by that particular note of the body: the brain, the spinal cord, the large and small intestines. All right.
And that's what's been coming up the whole time on all my scans.
Well, tell me what you mean. You F sharp or brain and those
Brain
organs. Yeah.
and spine and large and small intestine.
And so what that means is, to me, what that shows me is that we're not just looking at the frequency being out of balance, we're looking at possibly going into the manifestation of things being out of balance. Does that resonate? Well, I already know that the spine part resonates with you. I know that.
Right.
But does the brain and the large and small intestine, are you physically manifesting weaknesses in those areas?
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so. My stomach's up and down, but I've had a lot of it feels like acid reflux, but it's not. I don't know if it's from the surgery, but like the back of my throat burns, my tongue burns, and I think it's like just causing, some days I don't eat right. I've been trying to drink a lot more water, and I think that has been helping a lot.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at right now, is just trying to at least get 60 ounces of water down every day.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's good.
And I have the stick in my water pitcher, and I also have one of the balls in my water too, for, just to help out.
Yeah. I am taking notes just here.
Okay.
Of things that are standing out here and from our conversation, because that's going to help me in the long run when it comes to figuring out what to suggest for you about this. All right, let's finish looking at F sharp. The entire digestive system, I say to look at when that particular note shows up. The nervous system, the brain, the spine. These are the flower essences I would recommend based off of that, if we were to come back to that. And then if we want to look at what's happening a little bit more from that, we want to look at the digestive system and the nervous system. I'm going to come back to that in body systems in a second, because I want to just keep going and find G. And G is the next part. So look, when we're looking at G, we're looking at nerves and arteries, the cardiovascular system, muscles, bones. These are the areas that that you would look at. And then the circulatory system and the musculoskeletal system. Do you know how your circulation is right now? Are you experiencing anything? No?
I mean, my hands are cold right now, but other than that,
Are they normally cold?
no, not always.
Okay. What about
Like right now.
What about muscle pain?
No, not muscle pain. Nothing that's out of the ordinary.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right, I'm going to go back over here to her spreadsheet, and I'm going to go down to her vitals. When you get to vitals, when something shows up more than 50% of the time, you'll see the percentages turn red. Now, it's up to you to utilize this however you want. You might just want to see, you might want to focus on something that even comes up 30% of the time. There's a lot of vitals in here. So the way that this is put up is, if it's coming up more than 50% of the time, 51% or more, it's going to turn red. Remember, you have to get a trend going, because the first time you fill out this column with X's, everything is going to be 100%. It doesn't start diluting until you get, more in there. And after about 4 or 5 scans, that's when this thing starts coming to life. So I am just going to scan through here. Now, this part I had not done. I'm going to scan through here and just see what is coming up a good amount of time. So from the food standpoint, we have nuts, vegetables, spices. They're showing up on every scan. When I say showing up, I'm talking about showing up as on the easy scan. There are areas there that will not, even after optimizing, are still red. All right?
Yep.
The digestive system is showing up 60% of the time. Inflammation and oxidation is showing up 60% of the time. So I am writing digestion simply because we keep seeing that even in other areas. See, we're looking for trends. I'm seeing that the digestive system continues to show up no matter what. Amino acids come up 60% of the time. Macrominerals come up 60% of the time. I am not going to focus on that at this moment, because at this moment it's not matching other things in the conversation And it's showing up 60% of the time, and we only have, what do we got? 1, 2, we have 5. So, if it's still showing up when we get to 7 or 8, then that's when I would really pay closer attention to that. Vitamins and coenzymes, however, at some level show up 100% of the time. I find that interesting, so I'm just going to write that down. Brain nerve shows up 100% of the time. Cardiovascular shows up 80% of the time. And then when we want to tie that back, one of the notes showed the cardiovascular system, so I'm getting a hit kind of a couple of other times. 80% of the time, I think it was F sharp. I think that's the one that showed the cardiovascular system. I'm not sure. But one of them showed the cardiovascular system as coming up often from the original inner voice report. All right, so hormones are showing up 100% of the time. Liver and gallbladder function are showing up 80% of the time. Skin index 100% of the time. Allergy pollen 100% of the time. Bacterial diseases 100% of the time. Parasites and viruses are showing up 80 and 100% of the time. I am going to say that parasites and viruses show up 80 to 100% of the time on most people at some level. So you have to take that with a grain of salt, because we're always going to have the access to parasites. They're going to be in our system. Viruses are always going to be showing around us. I pay those a lot more attention when the person is experiencing actual symptoms. But it's data. Do with it what you will. There is no right or wrong way to do this. As I look through this, I'm just circling or talking about the things that stand out to me based off of the person that's in front of me, what we're experiencing, and how we're putting all of this together. I understand that this part of it isn't quite as exciting because we're analyzing, but again, this
very exciting.
really takes it to a whole different level if a person is inclined to do this.
Yeah, this is very cool.
So let's go over to her chakras. Her heart chakra is showing up 80% of the time. I'm probably not going to be recommending anything based off of that, but if you're a chakra person, go for it. Let's go. I'm going to just move right on over to her meridians. And over. And I can look at her meridians, and her pericardian meridian is showing up 80% of the time. Her large intestine meridian is showing up 80% of the time. Her lung meridian is showing up 80% of the time. Now, the lung meridian goes through the actual lungs, and it comes up the arm here. Starting in this area here, and it comes up the inside of the arm, inside of the body. It goes down through the lungs. And the large intestine meridian also comes up the arm in the same way. It just comes up a different path, and it goes down but it also goes across the head. And so when we're dealing with things that go across the brain, or across the head, or through the head, I look at other things that are showing up. We're dealing with brain things that are showing up. But also, I don't know if I've asked you this before, but do you get headaches?
Not often.
Okay. All right. So it's not manifesting itself in a physical way in that regard. But the large intestine meridian is really, really a stickler for people who do get headaches. And let me see, what is your gallbladder meridian? Is only at 20% of the time. Okay. Pericardium is showing up at 80%, which is interesting because, again, we are showing things that show up with cardiovascular system. The pericardium meridian and the heart meridian both are heavily related to the cardiovascular So I've already written down cardiovascular. I'm just going to put a little check mark next to it to say I've gotten even another hit off of that. I've gotten several hits off of the digestive system as well. And now let's look at her comprehensive. All right, I'm going to have to zoom in on this because this is going to drive me crazy at that level. One of the things that I had the person who did this to do was to put the percentage sign on the left and the right, because as you enter more in, I don't want you to have to look over, like try to find where your percentages are. So at a certain point, you'll be near the end and you'll see the percentages are over here as well. They're the same ones that just allows you to not have to keep scrolling back and forth.
Smart.
So let me get back over here because we only have 5 in here. And let's just see what's coming up here that correlates with the rest of it. We have head that's still showing up. I have brain and nerves put up. I'm going to put head on that same line. Again, I'm taking notes and I take notes differently. You all can take notes however you want. Don't feel like the way I do this is the way you're supposed to do this. Take notes and figure things out however this will come alive for you all. I have not looked through this in this way prior to now. I just got this data inputted right before we started. All right, so the eye and the left eye shows up 60% of the time. I remember something coming up last week that made me ask you about the eye.
Interesting that it comes up 60% because my left eye happens to be smaller than my right eye. I noticed it more since I haven't been, since surgery.
Yeah.
My husband goes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Tell the man to pay attention if we could, right? I got a feeling you're going to be getting a nice gift soon. All right. Let's go down here to the left leg is showing up 60% of the time. Anything happening there that makes any sense to you with the left leg?
Not really. I mean, I have 2 torn meniscus, one on each leg, but other than that, I mean, I live with it, so it's not a big deal. No pain. If I have any sciatica, it's always on the right side, not the left side.
Okay. And sometimes I'm definitely not one of these people that just tries to make something out of nothing. But looking at and dealing with people for a long time, one of the things I've noticed is if you are having a situation of pain on one side of the body more than other sides of the other side of the body has to compensate for the side that's not dealing with the pain or having to deal with the issue. And on a frequency standpoint, it might be weaker because more of its resources are being used up. That's just something to actually consider when we're looking at things.
Totally makes sense. Because even when I had surgery, my whole right side of my throat and everything hurt more than my left side. Mm-hmm. So I was swallowing everything on my left and going like this. Yeah. So
that's the reason why I always teach when people say, what does this mean? This came up on the scanner. What does this mean? Nothing means anything. Everything is too much energy, too little energy, enough energy, and trying to figure out where to throw your resources of frequencies will hopefully make it all disappear. That's the goal. When you give the body the frequencies that it needs in order to work optimally, then things just stop becoming a problem. And we never figured out why it was a problem in the first place. Mm. All right, the digestive system is showing up 80% of the time. I'm just going to circle the word digestion here because we don't need any more proof that the digestive system could use energetically at least some help. All right, the stomach cross section is showing up. That's digestion. I don't need to isolate that and make a big deal and say, well, it's the stomach. No, it's the digestive system. Digestive system is a large area. And unless we are a surgeon, we're not going to be dealing with it differently. We're not going to be doing something different from the stomach than the large intestine. We're going to be utilizing things like probiotics and digestive enzymes and or other frequencies, whether they be frequencies from the scanner, frequencies from the quantum wellness portal, or actual things. But we're not slicing the person open. These different things probably are nuances that aren't going to matter in the long run.
Yeah, I've had enough slicing for a while.
Yeah, let's no more of that. All right. Veins in the right arm and veins in the lower body. Now, this is one of those situations when I'm dealing with veins, Amy. Yeah, head, veins in the head, veins in the lower body. Both of those are over 50% of the time. I'm looking at veins in general, whether they're manifesting themselves in those areas or not. You're dealing with the same veins, and you're dealing with blood, and you're dealing with oxygen getting through. So I am not necessarily caring what area of the body it comes through, unless there is a physical manifestation there of pain in those areas. All right, so we only had the 80% down here in the lower body. What I was able to gather from looking at all of that is that we need to support the brain. We need to support the spinal cord. I have large intestine, small intestine, but then we have digestive system that is really, we need to support the digestive system. And we need to support the nerves, the cardiovascular system, and see what is going on there. Now, to start with, your tones are going to be very important to really looking and balancing these things out. So since all of your tones were red, I am definitely looking to see what we can do with making sure that at least on this day, whenever something like that happens, you're listening to your tones for 20 minutes instead of 10. When you have more green, then you can get away with 10 minutes. Really more than, or you can get away with the 10 minutes or even 5. But when you're dealing with that, where all of them are away from optimal, then I would be going with 20. So how are we going to support these other things? Remind me what you have as far as in your toolbox.
I have read the 660 band. I have 2 of those. I have Illuminator, and I have the transducers. I believe that's it. Yeah.
All right. So let me go back over here to our screen share here, and I am going to look at the complete Cephi list, and I am just going to do a search of the Cephi list for digestion and see what we come up with. First of all, the actual frequency of digestion is there. I'm going to recommend adding that. There are 15 hits, so let's just see what else is in the Cephi list. All right, and there's also indigestion 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna recommend those 2. I'm not going to recommend any of these homeopathics because from my vantage point, when you are dealing with the frequency are other frequencies that are combined anyway, so you're already probably going to have a lot of these homeopathics in those frequencies. They don't tell us specifically which homeopathics make them up. These are like combos to begin with. So I'm not going to be recommending any of those. I want to make room in your playlist. All right. Let me look at large intestine.
You know, it's interesting, as we're speaking, the back of my tongue and my throat is just burning.
Really?
Almost like there's acid on it.
Do you experience acid reflux or anything like that?
I haven't had it in years and years and years and years and years.
All right, so in the frequencies, you have 127, which is the intestine infection. I'm just drawn to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then 260 is intestines to flush. (261) is intestines inflamed. All right, let's see what we have for brain support in here. All right, so here is great. All right, so
I've had
inflammation.
meningitis.
Pardon?
I've had meningitis.
You have. I was about to say this is great because we're dealing with brain and spinal cord. And so let's utilize that 292, which is meningitis, inflammation of the brain, spinal cord membranes. Let's do a search for cardiovascular. Let's just see what else we got in here for cardio. Oh, that's the only one. All right. Let me do a search for veins. All right, let's go back to cardio. All right, so let's look at this, which I cannot pronounce. Atrial sclerosis plus. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
All right, let's add that.
Okay.
All right, so this is what I want you to do. Let's start with this playlist. What I want you to do is to take your illuminator,
Okay.
take a picture of it, and add it to your scanner as a device. Have you done that already?
No, I did not take a picture of it.
Okay.
I put it in there and it comes up as the device I should use it, but I don't know where to do it other than for my thyroid.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I want you to put it in, I'm sorry, maybe I said that wrong, objects and places. So I want you to be able to broadcast to it. I want you to pull it up in actually add your device in objects and places. So now
Spaces and objects?
spaces and objects, yes. I said it
Okay,
wrong.
so add my illuminator.
Yes.
Okay.
Then I want you to take this playlist that you just made and I want you to broadcast it to your illuminator.
Okay.
And then I want you to use the illuminator on your large intestine meridian.
Hold on. Okay, so I'm going to broadcast the list to the illuminator.
Yes.
Okay. And then I'm going to focus on the large intestine meridian.
Yes. The small intestine meridian. And the stomach meridian.
For how long?
1 to 2 minutes each. Now, this is a completely different paradigm shift than what I taught in the Meridian class because I said you only need to do it for about 20 seconds. The reason why you only needed to do it for 20 seconds is because at that point, I was teaching you how to fill the channel with energy. What I'm doing now is teaching you how to take information, detailed information. I'm sorry, when you're broadcasting it, broadcast it simultaneously, not individually. And what you're doing is you're broadcasting that information to the actual device, and then allowing that information to ride the frequency of light that's going in your body. So it's not just going to your biofield. You're now shooting it into the meridian system, which then takes it physically all throughout the body, which is a different technique than broadcasting it to yourself. Because when you broadcast something to yourself, you're broadcasting it to your biofield, which is great. I want you to do that too. But what I also want you to do is to do this so that you can take it to a different level and broadcast that information into the body. And I'm sorry I interrupted you. You were about to say
No,
something.
I interrupted you. I apologize.
No, it's okay.
When we were at DOD, when you were on stage, you were talking about attachments for the illuminator. Have they done anything with that? Do you
Not
know?
that I'm aware of.
Okay. Because I know you were that you were excited about that they were hoping that they would do that.
Yeah.
This
The
way,
attachments are really going to make it easier for the ear part. But, you know, now with the hub coming out, they might just be focusing their energy on that. But no, I haven't heard anything else about that. I was able to get my hand on it that day. I haven't seen it since.
okay. Would that help if I could make a cone and have somehow attached to it, or it doesn't really matter?
Not for this purpose, no.
Okay, there's also different settings in the illuminator.
Doesn't matter.
Which setting? Huh?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're just you're giving the body information, and the settings would be if you were trying to heal tissue. That would become when that was important. Surface level stuff. You're putting it on a meridian point and pulling it into the body. The meridian, once it gets in the body, it's gonna go through all through the meridian system.
Okay. Okay.
So with this new information in the new chart or the Excel spreadsheet that will be available to everyone by the end of tonight, because I do have to upload it. For those of you who are watching this later, it should just be there already. It will be in the files section. There is a section in the AO Scanner now, in the AO Scanner course, that just says files. And every time there is an update to this particular system, and hopefully there's not going to be a lot of updates. That's the reason why it took so long. I wanted to get everything so that I could give it to you at one time, so that you can use this with yourself, your family, make a copy. Like every time you are dealing with a new person, if you have a practice, literally just pull a blank one out, rename it, and then open it up and do it for that person. But anyway, as you're doing this, make sure that you're utilizing the top portion of that in order to see where you're going to go with dealing with the sound and the sound therapy. Now, last week, we gave you some suggestions and ideas. Did you experience any shifts over the last week?
I did actually. When I was getting very frustrated and down on myself, it seemed that I was able to get out of it a little bit quicker and feel a little bit better as I was getting out of it. I wrote that down in almost every day, that if I was getting depressed or anything, that I was able to shift out of it quicker. So that has definitely helped. There was another thing I was going to ask. When it comes to listening to my tones, should I be using my the colored glasses also? Will that also help?
That absolutely will help. And so when you are dealing with the colored glasses, in your situation, let me look really quickly back at your sheet.
So for today it was lime. Yesterday it was lime. The day before it was green.
Well, when you said it was lime and it was green, where, I mean, they have different ones. Where are you pulling that information from?
From the Easy Scan, how it shows up.
Okay,
on the bottom.
gotcha.
Yeah,
So the color will always reinforce the treatment, always. And so I always tell people, if you have the glasses, go ahead and use them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot. I also have the glasses.
Yeah.
That's okay. When it comes to supplements that I'm taking now, should I kind of like slow down for right now and see if just the frequencies work and kind of like just ease off of things?
I don't know about your history and your case to give a real recommendation on that. I don't know. Since
I'm just taking supplements like turmeric, vitamin C, B12.
I like having people take their supplements in order to help the frequency. Because
Okay.
frequency and non-frequency, they coexist and they work together. And very often with the frequencies, you're giving the body the information of what it needs in order to do something with the substance. My first recommendation would not be to stop the supplements unless you just wanted to in order to do a test.
No, I just thought that maybe that might be, messing with me right now. I don't take them every day. I take them when the scanner tells me.
Yeah.
I do my easy scan every morning and it tells me what to do. And then during the day, when I'll do an easy scan or a quick scan. And if it tells me some frequencies, I'll do the frequencies all day long. Like I'll go ahead and go into Cephis and I'll do reach and I'll do affirmations and chakra and the oils. And I'll just add that to my sugar pellets with whatever I normally have in there to kind of like reinforce it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great thing. And experimenting is always good too, because that will allow
Right.
you to know when you actually, when something is more helpful. But again, I don't know enough about the case to give a hard-coded recommendation on that.
Right. Okay.
All right. Thank you, and we will check back in with you soon to see how you're doing.
Thank you so much for all
You know
your
what I'm
time.
also gonna do
All
to
of it,
you?
I mean,
Oh, you're welcome. And I'll do this for both of you today too. This chart that I have of yours, I will send that to you so you don't have to start from scratch.
okay.
You can just add on to it and just keep going, because probably what you were going to do is to go back and put in other dates, but you might even have previous dates you might want to put in there. It's up to you. You do with it what you want, but I'm going to send you your Excel spreadsheet book so you
Thank
can
you.
see what you want to do. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let me move her. Ronnie, I'm coming to you in 1 second. All right, Ronnie, go ahead, unmute.
Thanks, Daryl. That was really great information. So I wanted to ask, when you mentioned to Amy that to place the illuminator to focus on and run the Cephii list, and then send the list to the illuminator, going to the meridians, can you do that same process virtually?
Oh, yes. I mean, even if you're in the same house with them, you're doing it virtually. So anytime you're utilizing Cephis, unless you're physically putting your hand on something, you're doing it virtually. In fact, listen, let me just say this really quickly. I don't want anybody to get upset with me. Cephis are virtual regardless. So when you all are putting pellets on your device, the device isn't magically bringing the frequency out and resonating into the pellets. Now, if you have an IC glow pad, that is a different style of imprinting. I don't mean to hijack your thing, Ronnie. I'm going to come right back to you, but I just really want people to understand that. Everything about Cephii is virtual. Everything, even if you are putting something right up next to it. What's happening is you're utilizing quantum mechanics to focus in on something that happens to be either in front of you or not in front of you. But from the standpoint of the scanner, which is not in your room, wherever your device is, the scanner is not there with you. Scanner is someplace else. And so virtual imprinting is happening anyway. Virtual frequency is happening anyway. The fact that you have a little square to put something on doesn't make it not virtual. It just makes it easier for people to accept that virtual is happening without having to actually say that it's virtual. Again, sorry, I didn't mean to hijack you. Please continue.
Oh, no, that was really helpful to have that explanation. So I guess what you say I'm getting is that whether it's illuminator or the wand or anything else, when you have the person's name, you have the object that you're focusing for the CEPIs to go through, and the person is somewhere else, it'll go to wherever you've directed it via the CEPI list.
Yes, anything, whatever you've put in there as the source, or not the source, as the end piece of it, whether it be a person, whether it be an animal, whether it be an object, or a room, or a thing, or a chair, or whatever it is.
So I was just visualizing when you said that, okay, so this will be going through the meridians, but how does it how is it working through the meridians? Is it because it's illuminator and the illuminator works through the meridians? Where are you putting?
So I specifically was telling her specific meridian points. So now we're moving from quantum to physical. When you're putting physical light on a meridian system, you're pushing the light or the energy of the light into the meridian system. That's not virtual. That's actually happening physical. So maybe I misunderstood your question, but let me expound on that just a little bit. So when I was speaking to her about that, let's say she wasn't broadcasting anything at all to the illuminator. What she would be pushing is 660 nanometers of light into her meridian system, which will activate that particular meridian system and give energy to everything in that meridian system. What I'm telling her to do is since you're going to be pushing light into the meridian system, give that light information to also take into the meridian system with it. So the virtual side is bringing the information to the illuminator. And now that the illuminator has the information, we're physically taking that information and putting it into the meridian system. That part is physical. That part is not virtual. The virtual part would be if you were to send information to an illuminator to somebody else, and then they put it up to the person. If that situation is not happening, you might as well just go ahead and send that information to the person virtually, and then do it longer and you want to do it longer than 2 minutes at that point, and then allow the body to take its course. Now, with that information being said, does that change the answer to the question that you just asked? Did I understand it wrong?
Okay, I think you explained most of it. I was just, so if I had, for example, someone with a headache and they weren't with me and I wanted to send it through, say, the wand, would I, because the wand would amplify whatever the CEPI list is doing, would I just still put the wand in the space and object?
And they are not with you. Your wand is with you at your home, and they are someplace else.
Yes.
I would just send it directly to the person. Now, the difference would be if you are also utilizing other intention with the wand and you are wanding something as a surrogate to them.
Okay, so
then that changes the dynamic.
Yeah. Okay.
That changes the dynamic. If you become the surrogate, or if you have something to become the surrogate. But I don't do that. I'm not against it. It's just not the way I practice. If they are not with me, then I just send the frequencies directly to them and let it run for an hour. And then just at that point, it will get into the body.
Okay.
All right?
That answers my question. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. All right, I am going to come to Dalise in just a minute. I told you all that this class might go a little bit over. I think that there were a couple of questions in the comments. Let me just see. Is the average calculated using the numbers from that one particular scan only? It does not look at historical numbers as well. It does not. It's just telling you what is out of balance based off of the numbers that you're giving it and nothing else. I don't have Excel. Can I still use it? You can use, that's a problem so you can use Google Sheets, but the problem is I was experimenting in Google Sheets today. I planned on teaching this class in Google Sheets to show you how to do it. The problem is with all of these tabs, the file itself got so big that Google Sheets wouldn't read it. So what I'm having our programmer do is if you want to use Google Sheets, yes, you can use Google Sheets, but you're going to have a file for inner voice, a file for vitals, a file for comprehensive, a file for meridians, a file for chakras. That will make it small enough. So you're going to need like 5 individual files, and then you can use Google Sheets. So I'll make all of that available to everybody. Now those probably won't be available until tomorrow, the smaller versions or the Google Sheets versions. All right, where are we at? Karen says, I'm amazing. Well, you know what, Karen? Every time you say that, I'm going to make sure that you get highlighted for that, whether you put QQ or not. My goodness, Dr. Dale, your spreadsheet is amazing. At no point have I ever gotten excited about spreadsheets until this. Let me tell you, who is that, Christina? I hate Excel. I can't even explain it. I don't like it. I don't want anything to do with it. If anybody gives me an Excel spreadsheet, I run the other way. I was so excited about this. This is the first Excel spreadsheet I've ever been excited about. Probably because I had to come up with the brain idea of how to use it and why. But this is the first time I've ever been excited about an Excel spreadsheet. I can't express how much I hate Excel. Hate it. All right. Are you thinking of controlling? I think that was not to me. Wow, says Susan. There we go. This is a new level of healing and sending frequencies. Thank you, Irene. Irene is all about what you can conceive. If you can bring it up into your consciousness, you can do it. And that is the measuring rod on what you can do. All right. This is so helpful. Thank you, Amy, for being a case study. Yeah, thank you, Amy. Thank you so much. This is so true, the virtual clarification you gave. All right. Let me see. I understand, but the average person would summarize the definition of quantum science as magic. Yeah, she's right. They would. How do you use the keyword search again? I'm on a Mac at this moment. On a Mac, you would use on a computer you use Control F. On a Mac you use Apple F. But most people are using a PC. Hold down the Control, hit the F button, and that's basically pulling up find. That's how you find it. All right, Dalisa is coming up next. For those of you who are not part of the Quantum Wellness Portal, or for those of you who are not, who have not purchased the scan, the AO scanner course, if you decide you want to come join us, you can feel free to do so. And it's the membership, which has been closed for a long time. The membership has been closed, I think, for like a month and a half, maybe 2 months. It's back open until March 1st. So there are 2 ways to join us. You can either join us via membership. If you are in a membership, you never have to pay for courses. You just receive all of these courses and classes and trainings. They come with your membership. And if you don't have a membership, then you have to pay individually for each course. So it's just really up to you. We have a monthly membership. We have a quarterly membership every 3 months, and we have a yearly membership. And so that you can do, or you can just purchase the AL Scan course. That doesn't give you access to any of the other stuff. With the membership, you get access to all of our charts that have nothing to do with the AL Scanner. Well, I shouldn't say. We have body and ear charts that show you exactly which protocols to treat for different things. We have an infoceuticals page, which is our digital files and digital signatures. We have tens of thousands of recipes and collections that you can email to yourself and put together your own recipe collections or put together your own meal plans. We have sound therapies, and we have other master classes. All of it is included in one membership price if you want the membership, including this course. If you only want this course, then you can just do this course. All of the information can be found right now at drdarylwellness.com/simplified. That's joining us in this AL Scanner course. If you are desirous of hopping onto this course, which again, we're not ever starting over. We're just going to be adding to it every single month, adding to it. The next thing that's coming up as far as this course goes is the hub. So after we're done with the case studies, we're going to do the hub. And the hub course portion of it will probably go 2 to 3 weeks because we're going to get into the different ways to use it and probably do a case study or two in that. Again, drdarylwellness.com/simplified. All right, let me close out of everything having to do with Amy. And Dalise, if you could get ready for me, if you could turn on your camera, unmute your mic, and let me get your stuff up here. Sorry, everybody, I'm a one-person show, and I have to do all of these things myself. All right, that's her voice report. That is her body systems. All right. All right. Dalise, oh, wait a minute. Did I add her? I don't think I did. Oh, I did add her. All right, go ahead and say something for me. I need you to talk to activate this thing.
Oh, hello.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Hello, how are you today?
Wonderful.
Thank you for joining us again. We tried this last week, but I had all of these issues. But I'm kind of glad. This is how energy works, meaning we were actually able to put together some trends, and that gives us a better picture of how the body is operating. So do me a favor. Do you have, while we're speaking, I have your latest inner voice report up, but do you have access to it right now, or would it take a lot for you to grab it?
Oh no, I have access to it.
I am
Do you
going
want
to have you
to look
read
the easy scan or the inner voice?
the inner voice. I just want you to read me your numbers.
Oh, okay.
Hang on a second. Let me get in here and delete these. All right. Read them to me left to right, starting with C, please.
1.8, 1.7, 1.4, 4.3, 2.2, 1.8, 2.7, 10.4, 8.3, 5.2, 2.0, and 2.4.
So before we even get any further, you all already know that there was an extreme spike happening there. Now, I haven't gotten out of the last tab yet, so nothing's turned red. But I can almost guarantee you that G and G sharp are going to go red. But let me get out of here and see what happens. They did. So we have 3 reds and 1 orange. Now, from the vantage point of what I'm looking at, that's all four of them are in enough need for assistance that this would not be a day that I would say just focus on the top number or just focus on the bottom number. This would be a justification for focusing on all of the numbers. And since 3 out of the 4 are red and 1 out of the 4 is orange, this would be a situation where I would recommend that you listen to your notes for 20 minutes pulsed versus 10, because you want to utilize as much as you can from the standpoint of what we're looking at in order to bring your system back into balance. That's my only recommendation so far, because that's as far as we've gotten, but I want to know if that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. I gotta get a new sheet for notes. So my first recommendation for you is don't isolate nothing. Listen to all your tones. 20 minutes. Now let's look at some history from her, because I was able to put in 5 days, 5 days worth of information for her. And if you'll notice, these 4 are out of balance, and that matches where these X's are for today. X here, X here, X here, X here. The only reason why I bring that up is to say that we're utilizing the same system that the AO scanner uses in order to isolate which 4 are out of balance. Every once in a while, these won't match perfectly. And the only time that's going to happen will be if you have 2 numbers out of those 4, if that number matches another number exactly. Like, for example, if this D sharp was also 1.4, we probably would end up with 5. But since the AO scanner knows the full realm of things, it would only have isolated 4. So in that case, that's not going to change the recommendation. But I'm just letting you know, if you happen to see 5 that show up, that's the reason why you're dealing with notes that, from the standpoint of what we're giving it, couldn't differentiate it in the way that the scanner does when it knows the longer trail. All right. So I want to see what notes come up very regularly for her. And for her, it's G. The note G comes up 80% of the time, and G sharp comes up 60% of the time. So let's walk through this. The only recommendation that I've given you thus far has to do with your tones, or it could have to do with going through your inner voice to see whether or not we're going to be looking at one of the vitals in any of those sections more than the other. That's the only use of that top line. It has nothing to do with your trends or anything like that. It's just the frequency and how we're going to balance that frequency today. That is the only thing that we're looking at. Now we're looking at the bottom, and we're looking at trends, and we're looking at it a little bit differently. So you might hear me doing things a little bit differently than I did with Amy, but it's because there is no one way to do any of these things. I'm showing you however you're inclined. I'm just showing you new other ways that you can utilize this information. It doesn't mean that I should have done it with Amy, or I didn't do it with Amy, so I shouldn't do it with her. There's just different things, or just different ways of balancing. So let's look at this. So we have, again, G and G sharp. So G comes up 80% of the time for her. And did it come up today? It did come up today. So I am curious. So I'm going to go to her inner voice report, and I'm just going to look at her G for today. So when we're looking at G, we're looking at veins and arteries and muscles. And I'm going to look at her emotions. So this is just today. These are the emotions that could not be resonated properly Now, she probably has a bunch of emotions that couldn't be resonated properly, but these are specifically the emotions that couldn't be resonated properly that also had to do with this particular note, G. So guilt, impatience, and life planning conflict. Does that resonate with something that you can make sense of? Do those emotions?
That impatience is key, and I think life planning also.
Okay. But it's not a wowing thing, meaning like, oh my goodness, yes, that makes so much sense to you. You're not having that reaction to it.
No, I mean, especially like impatience. I, my daughter complains that I'm impatient with her, and
Okay.
like, I experience that at work a lot of times. Not wanting to wait for people to do things and thinking that they're moving too slow.
Okay.
So I can feel impatience definitely.
Okay. And I'm also going to look down here at vitamins. Vitamin E and B3 came up. The imbalances and suggestions that we have here are heart, liver, and brain. Potential causes. I'm also looking at brain and spine. It shows up over here. Is there anything to note about your spine?
I have scoliosis, mild scoliosis. I've had that since I was a kid.
Okay. All right. All right. So I'm just taking notes as we go through this. I inputted your information. I haven't studied it in any way. Really, I just finished this up right before we did this, which is always good because you're kind of looking at the way I would do this in practice. All right, let me go over here back to the chart. And I'm going to go down to her vitals, and I'm going to see what is showing up. Do you have, or have you been experiencing any digestive health stuff? Things with not being able to upset stomach, anything that you know about that would show your digestive system being way off?
I suffer with gas a lot.
Okay. All right. So the reason why I asked that is because I'm seeing, and this is a little unusual for me, I'm seeing 100% in a lot of the foods area here, or close to it. So legumes at 100% is not resonating. And let me come back to this. I cannot stress this enough. When you're looking at any kind of frequency, whether it is food or any other type of frequency in the scanner, this is not saying that you have these things. It's not saying when you're talking about food that you've been eating these things. It's saying that the perfect way that this frequency resonates could not balance itself when presented with how you resonate. And I know that we all want to find this magical thing where it's telling me to eat fruit, or it's telling me I've had too much fruit. It's telling me to eat vegetables. It's telling me I've had too many vegetables. It's telling me not to eat spinach. We don't know why these things are not resonating properly. And it could be suggesting that. It just takes a little bit more research. But the thing that it truly is telling you is these things are not resonating well in your system. And if you want to study, here's a clue. That's it. That's the only thing that it's saying. We can look into it further and figure things out, but we've got to stop trying to look at these things as though the scanner is telling us that this is good for us, this is bad for us, this can't work for us, and this does. How many of you have children? How many of you have had children that crapped their diaper? I can tell you that their frequency didn't resonate properly with you in that moment. The logic that many of us use, we would have to say, the scanner is telling us that I shouldn't have this child because the resonance is not there. No, the frequency of that crappy diaper child is not one that you enjoy. But the moment that the frequency gets cleaned up, the love comes back. Not that the love ever went anywhere. I'm making a joke and being sarcastic, but my point is frequencies fluctuate and change, and they don't mean that something is good for you or not good for you. Sometimes we can look at frequency to determine what might be good for you and what might not be good for you. Or we might look at those same frequencies and say, what can I do to make the frequencies resonate so that it won't cause me any problem? Because vegetables is coming up 100% of the time. That's not telling me that she shouldn't be eating vegetables. It's not what that means to me. No human being who has common sense would tell a person they shouldn't be eating vegetables. But there are clearly lots of vegetables that are not resonating with you. So we need to figure out where in your digestive system we can help it from a frequency standpoint so that vegetables will resonate with you and then thus not come up as 100% on this scan. Now I'm back to you because I had gotten off. I wanted to talk to everybody else for a second. And now I'm back to you. Does that make sense though? What the food and vegetables showing up at 100%? I see that a lot. Vegetables and legumes showing up for people who have gas and those issues. I don't want you to give up on vegetables is all I'm saying.
I know. Like, oh God.
All right, let's look back down here and see what's coming up. All right, I'm looking for some high numbers right here. Digestive function is showing up 80% of the time. Now, we already had a conversation with her. We know. She already told us. But this just validates what she's told us. Now, why does validation help? It helps because it lets us know that the digestive system might actually be the cause and not the side effect. Sometimes, if you're not experiencing digestive issues and the digestive system is showing up, we might have to look at something else. What emotions are throwing the frequencies of your digestive system off so that it is pulling resources from the rest of your body? Thank God it's not spilling out into the actual physical stage. But in your case, you have digestive issues that are physically manifesting as well as frequency manifesting. And that lets us know that we've gotten to the point that it's not just frequency anymore, where some of these things might still be stuck in the frequency stage. And hopefully, if we can correct them in the frequency stage, they don't have to manifest materially. For those, let me just quickly say this, for those of you, because we're clearly going way over tonight. For those of you who have to leave, don't worry. This entire class is recorded. It will be in the archives. And I thank all of you for your time and being with us. I really, really appreciate that. This is really the crux of this course where we are right now. Microminerals 60% of the time. Brain nerve shows up 80% of the time. Dealing with nervous systems and nerves that go up to the brain. I'm writing that down. Collagen index shows up 80% of the time. The immune system. Something from the immune system is triggering 100% of the time. And liver and gallbladder function is showing up 80% of the time. When you're dealing with liver and gallbladder, you're dealing with the body's processing of all of the frequencies that come through the food that you're actually eating. It breaks it down and puts that frequency in the blood. And when you're dealing with the gallbladder, you're dealing with the body's ability to break down fats and carbs. And those two things work hand in hand. I mean, they're physically connected to one another, the liver and the gallbladder, and they work directly together, utilizing frequencies to go through. So it's interesting that that's showing up 80% of the time. And we also are dealing with digestive issues. My suspicion here is that since this has proved that it has manifested itself physically in you, that we're dealing with a situation where you probably don't break down fats as well as one might like. And then because that happens, that will create a gassy effect. All right. Allergy, pollen, bacterial diseases, fungus. So when you're dealing with bacterial diseases and fungus, anytime the gallbladder and the liver are struggling, and we don't know 100% for sure that they are, we just know from a frequency standpoint they're not resonating. Anytime the liver and the gallbladder are struggling, you're going to be dealing with extra toxins that are going to be inside of this, particularly if you're eating lots of meat. Do you eat a lot of meat?
I eat, I don't know what you consider a lot of meat. I eat meat every day.
Every day. Okay, yeah, okay. And when I say a lot, I'm not saying like an abundance of. I'm not suggesting that there is enough or too much or anything like that. That's what I mean. Like there are some people who only eat meat a couple times a week. That you're eating it every day. All right, and then parasites are showing up 100% of the time. I very rarely see parasites that show up less than 60 to 75% of the time in all of us. It's really just a general thing. I take that category with a grain of salt, especially when there's only one or two things coming up. I think a future update to that report or this thing, this Excel spreadsheet might be something like when you have more than 5 parasites, that's when you put the X there. I don't always put an X as I'm checking things off. Prior to this, I was using a check mark. I didn't like if I just saw 1 or 2 parasites on a day, I would probably not put a check mark there because that's so low in comparison to the amount of parasites that are available. And then viruses are showing up 80% of the time. So I've written down a bunch of things here so far in order to create a pattern. The emotion of being patient or impatience, I've put that down. Vitamins showed up a couple of times, E, B, and C. Heart showed up, liver, brain, spine. Vegetables showed up. Digestive function, the brain and nerve, or the brain nerves. Collagen, immune system, liver, and gallbladder function. We were able to get that from the vitals and the inner voice. Let's look and see whether or not there's anything in the meridians and chakras that stand out. All right. All right, it looks like something got screwed up there with her meridians. Yep, that's there. All right, for some reason the calculation did not compute. And it could be because I was working on this right up towards the end and I could have screwed that up. Hopefully I didn't screw up anything else. The chakras. Nothing is really standing out there. And did I screw up the comprehensive? I did not screw up the comprehensive. Thank God. Well, I kind of did because I don't have today's comprehensive. But let's look at, you know what? Let's fill it in. Let's go ahead and fill in her comprehensive from today. All right. Today is the 17th. All right, I've got to pull it up though. So let me get into her file. And pull up her easy scan link for today.
have it if we're doing it
yeah,
from the
thank you so
beginning.
much. Yeah, that's gonna make it so much easier. All right.
Okay.
So this here, let me show you how I want you to do this though. Let me
Okay.
pull it up. I want you to pull up your easy scan, and then I want you to scroll down, and then I just want you to tell me like organs, small intestine wall, organs, reproductive female. I want you to tell it to me in that way. All right.
Okay.
All right, hang on. I guess I already know the organs, small intestine wall. Let me go down here to organs. Actually, let me zoom in just a little bit. And we are at G. All right. All right. Put an X there. What was the second one?
Organs, reproductive female. And then organs,
Wait,
liver
just
detail.
1 second. Okay, what was the next one? What was the next one?
Reproductive female.
I got that one.
Oh. Organs, liver detail.
All right. Okay.
Organs, respiratory.
Okay.
Organs, cerebral cortex function.
All right.
Nerves, brain.
Okay.
Connective tissue, left knee.
All right.
Skeleton, pelvis, sacrum.
All right.
Skeleton, ribs.
Okay.
Skeleton, vertebrae.
Okay.
Arteries, upper body.
All right.
Arteries, lower body, female.
Actually, I put it on the lower body in the first place. I apologize. So let me just do this. Sorry. All right.
Veins, lower body, female.
All right.
Muscles, left leg.
All right.
Muscles, right leg.
Okay.
Chromosomes, X.
All right.
And eye, left.
I don't know why I is always. They have such a weird order that they do stuff, but I is always at the bottom. Left, you said?
Left.
All right, let me save this. All right, so let's look through your comprehensive to see what is showing up more than 50% of the time. Large intestine cross section. Respiratory. Vertebrae. And yours, from the standpoint of comprehensive, doesn't show a whole lot that continues to come back and forth. And whenever I see something like that, where there's an area where there's not a lot coming up and we know that we're dealing with problems, to me, that's the body's way of letting us know that it's concentrating its screaming in one particular area. So we have a couple of things there. Vertebrae continues to show up, and we know that you have spinal issues. Are you able to get adjustments or no?
Yeah, I can get adjustments, yes.
Okay, some people can't. Some people can't. And is there anything happening with your respiratory system that you know about?
No.
All right, so digestive function is one of the main things that came up before. And even if we had not done scans, just from the conversation that I would have with you as a client, I would be looking at your digestive system. That would be something, that would be one of the first things that I would actually be looking to figure out what's going on, because digestion, when you're dealing with a lot of gas, we're dealing with digestion being some sort of a problem. We also have large intestine showing up as one of the main things inside of comprehensive, which goes right back to the to digestive function. We also have legumes and vegetables showing up 100% of the time on your scan purposes for eating. All of this validates everything that you're actually looking at as far as the digestive system needing some serious attention. So I want to look at this from a few different standpoints. First of all, do you take any of the following? Digestive enzymes, pre or probiotics, or digestive enzymes, prebiotics or probiotics? Are you taking any of those?
No.
Okay. So the very first thing that I would want is to get digestive enzymes into your system physically. Because we're past the stage of frequency, and it has reached the point of being physical. So we want to help clear it up with some frequency, but we also want to get some physical in order to balance itself out and work together with that. Do you have any? Well, you have the AO scanner. Have you thought about using the Solex's supplements or digestive enzymes?
Well, I actually did do the entire Solex Gold and the Solex X.
Okay, but
like
not the
a month
enzymes.
ago. I completed it a month ago.
Okay, but not the digestive enzymes.
No, I don't think.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So your first order of business from my standpoint would be to get some digestive enzymes and take them with your meals. Breaking down. Let me just
Now,
say this.
let me ask you real quick.
Yeah.
Papaya, is that that's considered digestive enzymes, correct? Papaya extract or something?
I don't know of it as a digestive enzymes, but you need a full spectrum one. So the whole point of the digestive enzymes is they have all of these various enzymes that are going to be breaking down whatever proteins or fats that the body needs, because the not breaking that down is what causes the digestive system to have leaky gut and to not work properly. So,
And each meal, in like while I think last week you said in the middle of eating.
well,
Like,
like right when you start.
okay.
Yeah. So if you're going to be taking hydrochloric acid, which is just a completely different thing, do you suffer from acid reflux too?
Yes.
Okay, all right. You might want to get some hydrochloric acid as well. Well, do you have any do you have any what is it? I'm tongue tied here. The apple juice, apple cider vinegar. Do you have any apple cider vinegar?
I do, yes.
Okay. So if you were to take a little bit of apple cider vinegar, probably a couple of tablespoons and a little bit of water, it's going to be gross, it's going to be disgusting, but that will help you to build up your stomach acid so that when you eat your food, your stomach has enough acid to break stuff down. So that taking that along with a digestive enzyme will probably work wonders for you.
At the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't necessarily mean it. You don't have to like take the digestive enzymes and drink it with the apple cider vinegar. But what I'm saying is they're doing two different things. One of them is raising the stomach acid so that you can burn off what's going down. That's going to stop. That's going to help with the acid reflux. The digestive enzymes are going to break down the proteins and the carbs. So they have two different functions.
But basically, each do it before a meal, both of them.
Yes. So like
Okay.
with the digestive enzyme, if you know for sure you're going to eat, feel free to go ahead and do it 10 minutes before you eat because you get them in your stomach. Don't do that with the apple cider vinegar. Because what you don't want to do is to put something that's going to raise your stomach acid and don't give it anything to do. You ain't seen acid reflux until you do that. You want to give it some food. That's like showing the baby the bottle. That's what or the breast, and you're not ready to actually give it to the baby. You never do that. You only do that one time, and then you say, "I'm never going to let them see it until I'm ready to actually nurse or to give the baby the bottle." Your stomach will do the exact same thing if you raise its acid and don't give it a job. So that's when you've committed to the meal. Remind me the tools that you have, please.
I have everything except for the hub and the rain.
Okay, so you have the mat,
Yes, I have the mat,
wand.
the wand, the illuminator, the 660 band, the tuning forks.
Are you using the 660 band often?
I normally use it every morning.
Okay. I'm going to recommend that you continue to do that, and I'm not going to offer you any other instruction on that because I'm going to be offering you other instruction, and so that helping to cleanse the blood, great. Use that. Don't stop. Do you use the wand?
I have used it, but I haven't been consistent with the wand.
Okay. What about the mat?
I normally get on the mat like 2 or 3 times a week for 10 to 15 minutes.
Is there any reason why you don't do it more?
Just don't think about it every single day.
I feel you. Listen. I have it in my practice, and people are on it all day long, and I'm with you. 2 or 3 times a week is probably the most I get on it, and that's terrible. All right. So let's. Do you currently use the Cephis
Yes.
every day?
Yes.
And do you build yourself a playlist?
Yes.
And what kind of stuff is in your playlist?
Let me pull it up. Let's see. Okay. My list, that's not the right. My list has health, strength, and recovery, allergies, boils, hormonal imbalance, infections, number one, intestines inflamed, intestines to flush, joint problems, liver inflammation, pelvic disorders, um, prosperity, fringed violet. That's my list.
Okay. So I want you to make a new list. I mean, keep that list. I'm not saying don't utilize this, but for the purpose of what we're saying, I want you to put all of the things that are in there that talked about the intestines and the liver. I want you to put both. Well, you had a few things in there, and I want you to put those things in there.
Okay.
But I also want you to put in the frequency for digestion that we talked about earlier, and the frequency for indigestion 1, indigestion 2.
Okay.
1 second. And I want to support the brain and the spine. So let me just do a search here. See what comes up. All right. Meningitis, inflammation of the brain and spinal cord. I want you to add that one to it. I want you to add this homeoenergetics for cerebral detox. I want you to add that to it.
Okay.
All right. Let me go back up here. Homeoenergetics for sciatica support. I want you to add that to it. And do you have the stand for the wand?
I do not. I need to get the stand.
Okay. Do you have anybody who can use the wand on you at all?
Not every day.
Okay. All right. I also want you to use the homeoenergetics trace mineral complete. And I want you to use the flower essence, the Bach flower, impatience. It's spelled almost like the word impatience, but it's impatience.
Okay.
And I want you to utilize that on yourself, like meaning you're the target, for at least an hour a day if you can. And just like I taught Amy to add her illuminator as the target, I also want you to add your wand as a target. And I want you to wand your stomach, the skin, the actual skin, no shirt, not through the shirt. I want you to wand your entire belly for about 15 minutes a day if you can, while broadcasting that playlist to the wand.
Okay. For
Do you-
15 minutes every day.
Yes.
Alrighty.
Do you have an IC glow pad?
Yes.
Okay. I want you to in there. I get logged out of my own system. All right, don't freak out on me here. But I want you to go into the infoceuticals and I want you to imprint this pregnancy complex. All right? Now listen.
I know I'm way beyond that.
Pregnancy allows the vitamins that a woman needs as she is carrying a child. She depletes on a whole different level. So pregnancy vitamins are a lot more potent, and the frequencies of those things are happening. So you may not be carrying a child, but when you're having a lot of digestive issues, you are giving away your nutrition in the same way that you would if you were carrying a child. So when you're carrying a child, you don't come first, child comes first. All of the nutritional needs gets funneled to the child. And when you are dealing with severe digestive issues, particularly in the large intestines, you are losing nutrition on that same level. So I want you to imprint that into water daily for a while and drink that, especially over the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
And I want you to get some actual probiotics and digestive enzymes.
Alrighty. And full spectrum digestive enzymes.
Yes.
And pro. It pre and probiotics or just probiotics?
Well, it depends on where you're going to get them. I mean, you can usually find formulas that have them both.
Okay. Alrighty.
So the goal here is to nourish the brain and the spinal cord. When the spine and the vertebrae in particular is showing signs of being out of balance, information isn't getting through, and it has to come from the brain, and it's going to the organs. It's going to different parts of the body. It cannot get through. The only way it can possibly get through is if everything is completely lined up. Oh, that's the other thing. I want you to consider getting chiropractic adjustments. These are the physical things. That, along with the supplements, are the physical things that are going to help with the energetics. And when we support those areas and we are getting the information through, the body gets the signals that it needs. I want you all just to imagine whatever city you live in, rush hour traffic, if the system that fed the street lights, just imagine they just started malfunctioning. And one place just had constant green and another one had constant red, or everything was red and nothing was turning green. Eventually you would get so backed up from the standpoint of traffic that everything would just be chaotic and going everywhere. That's what happens when our spine can't get the information to our organs and the rest of our body from the brain. Can't get information, it can't get fluid, it can't get blood. All of these things have to travel through the spine in order to make our systems work well. And so that's the reason why, and also your spine is compromised, like just to begin with, we're starting at a deficit. And so getting that traffic moving is going to go a long way with allowing the system to recover on its own, along with the energetics that we're going to do and the digestive enzymes and some probiotics. And I would imagine that you will see some movement at that point. And I would be curious to know if you did. I want to know if you have any questions, though, because we kind of went through this slowly. This, again, this was not an exciting class, but I think that it's really necessary to move forward and understand. But any questions about any of this?
Um, no, in the past I have taken probiotics and prebiotics. I have taken digestive enzymes, but I think that probably because I've suffered with this problem since my childhood, then I believe that the frequencies will assist me in being able to open up these energetic pathways. Because I don't recall any changes when I took them in the past.
I will. How
And
long has it been?
oh, um, 2 years since I took digestive enzymes, and yeah, 2 years since I took digestive enzymes and probiotics together. And I've probably about 6 years before that is when I initially started doing it and never had any changes.
So I'm going to strongly then recommend that you look at the. I don't use the Solex supplements, but I've heard wonderful things about their gut formula. I believe that their formula has everything in it as well. Either that or utilize the optimal health systems with their digestive enzymes and also their probiotics. There's something there they have called Flora Blitz, and that re-inoculates your entire digestive tract in like 21 days.
Can you tell me that again? Flora Blitz?
Flora Blitz, You know what? I'll send you a link. I'll just send it to you.
Okay.
Just writing myself a note because if you go to digestionmatters.com and then click on and do a search for Flora, but it's a pack of supplements, but it gets a little confusing. That's a re-inoculation. The reason why I say that is because these are the companies that are kind of trusted. There are a lot of bad supplements out there, a lot.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
people have got to make their own decisions on what they get and where they get them from. But those would probably be the main ones that I would be recommending anyway. Because I understand what you're saying. Sometimes you don't know what's in those things, and a lot of times you don't get a lot of resources, or not resources. You don't get a lot of results with them.
Right. Yeah. I think that, I mean, you covered everything so well. I don't have any questions. Somebody did ask some questions. I saw them pop up about the how to how to address my abdomen. Is it clockwise? And then there was somebody else had another question.
So a lot of people have these ways that they do the wand in like a specific way. I don't, because you're putting energy into the body and it's moving. It's moving anyway. You have like some people when they're doing things on the spine, because of the way that the meridian flows, they only go down. And then sometimes when they're doing the front of the body, they only go up. You're constantly dealing with changing energies. For me, those things don't matter. What matters is getting that terahertz frequency underneath that skin. And so for me, it's more important to point out that I want you to do it on bare skin than what direction you're actually doing it in.
Okay. One other thing. So as far as the meridians go, my shoulder has been stiff and sore into my neck area. Would that be the liver and the lung and the digestion in regards to meridians?
No, from the meridian standpoint, you're probably dealing with either the large intestine meridian, which goes back to your digestive system, because the large intestine meridian goes right up through the shoulder. Let's look at your meridians really quickly again. See what your trends are. So I don't have, for some reason, oh, there it is. That was not there a few minutes ago. Or did I just not go over far enough? Let me make sure I'm on yours. Hold on. I am. All right, I guess I just hadn't gone over far enough. Yeah. All right. So 60% on the following: lung, stomach, bladder, pericardium, triple warmer. So the triple warmer, the pericardium, the small intestine comes up at 80% of the time. So the small intestine, the triple warmer, the pericardium, and the lung. All of your meridians that come up more than 50% of the time, all of them go through your shoulder. Every last one of them. That is an interesting thing. They all go through that shoulder. So this is a side note, you would benefit from that. Did you take the class, the meridian class where I showed you the source points around your body?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So the ones that are around your hand here are the lung meridians, the pericardium meridian, the heart meridian, the triple energizer meridian, the small intestine meridian, and the large intestine meridian. Those are the ones that are in your hand. The other ones are on your feet. You would benefit by taking the illuminator to all of those meridians for about 30 seconds a couple of times a day, but every day, and basically clearing that. Your small intestine meridian is the one that's on this side of your hand. I probably would hold it there for longer than the other meridians because that particular one is coming up at 80% of the time. But now that I can see your meridian numbers, that also is related to your digestion, because even though it goes through your shoulder, once it gets inside, it goes down, and your digestion is probably stuck in the small intestine because that particular meridian is not flowing. So this is an example where I'm going to add one more thing. For a couple of times a day, just go to that small intestine point and beam it with light with your illuminator for a minute or two. You don't have to go crazy. It's just really a minute or two, because what you're doing is you're flooding the area with light that a meridian system actually runs your small intestine. That small intestine channel energizes your small intestine. So we want to get stuff moving, and we want to get it moving properly. And so because we want to get it moving properly, we want to energize the actual organ itself. And the quickest way to do it is with the meridian.
Okay.
I'm glad we looked back at that, because I'm telling you, that was not there before. Or at least I didn't see it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much again for participating. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yes. Thank you as well.
And let me know how things are going. And I have on my list to send you that Flora Blitz that we were talking about so you can see what it is.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody. I'm going to take any last questions before we get out of here, but we are so far over. We are this 2.5 hours in. Good Lord. We're going to go shortly. Go ahead and raise your hand if you have a question. If you have typed questions, I'm going to start looking through that portion of the chat now and see whether or not there's anything in there. All right. I guess this person had to leave. We'll ask my question next time about food sensitivities and vital scan. You may answer it after I leave or have answered it. And if you typed it in, I apologize. I don't know if I answered it or not. Should they be done clockwise on the belly? That had to do with the wand. From my vantage point, it doesn't matter. We're looking way too deeply into it. Could you briefly explain how you broadcast a Cephi playlist through the Illuminator and or wand? Could you also do it through the 660 band? Well, I did explain it, Anne. Let me know whether, if you're still here, whether you may have typed that before I explained it, or maybe you missed the explanation. But you add the wand or the illuminator or whatever you're doing in the 660 band. You add it in objects and spaces, so that when you go to Cephis, you then choose that as the target, and then you run the playlist to that. The important thing is to do something with it while you're running the playlist. So if you decide to do your 660 band, make sure you're putting it up to your to this area. And so now, as the blood is getting the benefits of the 660 band, it's also carrying into the body the frequency or the information that's being sent from the Cepheid. Hope that makes sense. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's been a very exciting because you're helping to connect the dots. Thank you. That's why I'm here. That was the whole point of this class. I remember when we first started and I was going through each individual modality or module, and I was saying, but when we get to the end, when we get to the connecting the dots, I don't want you to feel like you have to do all of these things. When we get to the connecting of the dots, then you'll see why we're learning these things. All right. Dr. Betty, did you change your mind? I saw the hand was up. Wait, 1 second. One second. I got to add you here. All right, go ahead.
So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
The question, well, I raised my hand because I had another question after, and I figured I'd just wait till you got to it.
Oh, okay.
Versus other people. So I'll wait.
Go ahead. We got you now.
Okay. So my question was, when using the wand, do you recommend that that you wand the feet, the hands, the spine, the armpits, et cetera, as they recommend?
Well,
actually,
they just kind of give you guidelines on that's the way some people are using it. And I absolutely recommend that if you don't have another motive, if you are just trying to get terahertz frequency into the body, these are ways to get it into the body. You know, you have the area that releases the most brings in the most. So your feet, the bottom of your feet, they're the most conductive parts of your body. So when I have somebody on my table, treatment table, especially if I'm doing a hub session on them or what's known as a brain tap where they're laid out and they have something on, I put the wand on the bottom of their feet and I bring that terahertz wand on the bottom of their feet. The reason that people have smelly feet is because the feet are major portions of release out of the body. It's the exact same thing with the armpits. The reason why people have smelly armpits is because you have a lot of bacteria that's easily released out of those particular areas. And any area of the body that can easily release can easily bring frequency in as well. So putting it on the bottom of the feet or putting it at some armpits, that's going to bring the terahertz frequency in. And that's just straight terahertz. The technique that I talked today was specific for her because she has digestive issues. So I want her to wand her entire digestive system. I want her digestive system to get it specifically, not necessarily giving it to the full body. Giving it to the full body is great, but I also want the digestive system to get it specifically, and I wanted those frequencies to go there. So I don't want people to think that when you get your wand, you're supposed to do that particular ritual. That's just the ritual that most people do if they're just trying to bring terahertz frequency in and then allowing the body to just do with it whatever it decides it wants to do. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, well, it does from that perspective, but the reason that I asked that question was because when I got my, well, especially when I got my magic box, I literally got it from China from one of the ones who manufacture them, and they have a whole protocol of various conditions and what have you, but they're pre I don't really want to say prerequisites, but they recommend that initially you drink 2 glasses of warm water, and then you wand the feet, the and this is not necessarily the order, but it's the feet, the back of the knees, the spine, the hands, the armpits, and especially those. And then to actually target the area that you're wishing to work with or having the issue with.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
so
why I asked.
there's a theology out there of opening up the energy centers in the body, and those particular points are designed to do that. I don't do that,
Okay.
but it's not because I'm against it. It's just because I feel like it's, most people need something to focus on, and that's not one of the things that I need to focus on personally. So I don't do that, but I know a lot of people that do.
Okay. Well, I was wondering if it was really overkill, or is, like you said, those areas do open up channels and the access to the body.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how necessary. I mean, how
So,
much of a,
yeah, I hear you. And this isn't even going to answer that question, but what she's describing is what other companies do. And so that causes a certain amount of confusion. And Solex does the exact opposite, which causes an equal amount of confusion. They don't take anything. They don't. They just send you. They send you the product and with no information. And so that's why people like me are here to try to give some balance.
exactly. That's why I'm asking you that question.
Because both things could do some adjusting. Solex could give you a little bit more information, and other people could stop making it seem like the information that they give you, if you don't do it this way, you're just all
Right.
wrong.
Just like the inner voice saying "I am" versus
Yes.
my name is yeah. Okay.
But the reality is, doctor, that most people that you're going to encounter, they do want a ritual, and they want you to tell them, and they want you to make them believe that this is absolutely vital. This is the reason why, I don't know how long you've been around, but at one point, most people had those Solex devices. And when they stopped selling those devices, people were freaking out because they truly believed that this phone or this Uline thing that they had something in it that was imprinting or throwing the frequency out. They truly believed that the square that showed up was actually doing something because they needed something to focus on.
Focus on.
And when you don't give somebody something to focus on, sometimes they won't do anything at all. That is the truth.
Well, and another reason that I asked that question is because I didn't know how vital it was to follow that little to get the 2 glasses of warm water, and wand those areas, and then wand the area that of concern, and then drink 2 glasses of warm water after. And so really what it made me do, especially in relation to myself and in utilizing it to treat others, it made me kind of reluctant. Well, I'm not doing the whole thing, really gonna work, that kind of thing. So
Yeah, and for some people, it has the exact opposite effect. It makes them, come on and do it even stronger. And so everybody is going to have a completely different reaction to it.
gotcha. Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. You are welcome. All right, let me get down here and get the final of these comments. All right. You mentioned doing the one, I think I said on bare skin. Oh, this is what happens when you read questions. I probably said to clarify, and I don't even remember what the original one said anymore. If you're there, feel free to just pop on and we could talk.
Hi, it's Deb.
Oh,
So
hey.
I had just asked about, you mentioned her to do it on the bear skin, the wand. So, do you recommend that normally or just in this particular situation? 'Cause
Oh, always on bare
always
skin.
on bear
Always.
skin?
Yeah.
So we were told when we got the first terahertz one, it goes right through the clothing and that kind of stuff. And so I know a lot of people were doing it through clothing. I prefer it on the bare skin.
Yeah,
too,
and I'm
but-
not saying that it won't go through clothing, but it's going to go through much deeper when it actually hits your skin. When you're using it on clothing, there is a layer there that will stop it, and also the light portion of it you'll get very minimal effect on that, especially if the clothing is dark. So unless
Okay.
the person has on white, then all of the light is going to get absorbed into the. Well, that's not true. If they have on yellow, they'll get some. If they have on light blue, they'll get some. If they have on dark blue or black, forget about it.
Okay.
The
that
light
makes
portion of
sense.
it, but they'll still get some of the terahertz frequency. But they're
Sure.
going to get the most if the frequency or the air hits the actual skin.
Makes sense. I just wanted your opinion because I
Absolutely.
value it.
Well, thank
So,
you.
Thank you very much.
You are so welcome. Didn't you want to lose weight? Hoping to hear Dr. Darrell comments. I'm not sure what that was referring to.
I, the last, the gal who you were working with, the Dahlias, last week she mentioned something about wanting to lose weight.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't.
That you-
Yeah, I don't have any comments about that in particular. When the imbalances to her until the balances to her digestive system takes place, you're not really going to drop anything. It has to. The digestive system has to be moving. So the weight is going to probably be a side effect. Losing weight will probably be a side effect to getting the digestive system balanced.
Okay, well then I'm gonna go back and use your techniques in your spreadsheet to find out what my issues are. I may find the same thing, and that's the reason why I'm not losing anything.
It also could, a lot of times, emotional blocks will definitely play a key in that as well.
Okay.
All right. All right. All right. Where are we at? When using the wand, do you recommend stand? Oh, we already.
Oh, I already
got through
did that one. But
Yeah, I see.
I have one thing. So the inverse of what you just said about an imbalance in the frequencies or the energies of the digestive system would make it difficult to lose weight. And so would the inverse be true? The imbalance causes you to gain weight.
Yes and no. So the answer is yes in most people, but that's just the manifestation. In some people who have a different system or a different makeup, and many of us, we want to strangle these people. It just causes them to lose weight. So it depends on how your digestive system, whether or not it's going to go too fast or too slow. A balanced digestive system processes minerals, foods, nutrients at the proper rate, and it doesn't get stuck. Most of the time when people gain weight is because their manifestation of imbalance in the digestive system is slow digestion. Other people, it's becoming increasingly not a lot, but other people, their manifestation when their digestive system isn't balanced is fast digestion. So in both cases, they are not absorbing their nutrition, but the manifestation looks completely different. And for some people, it is gonna deal with actual weight loss. So some people who are dealing with anxiety and depression, their digestive system will slow down and they'll just start losing weight. But their digestive system is just as in bad of a shape as somebody whose digestive system is slow and they gain weight. The gaining and the losing is just a side effect. It's just a symptom to an imbalance. And when the imbalance is corrected, then the person either gains the weight that they lost or lose the weight that they gain because the system is flowing properly.
Gotcha. Opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yep.
Got it.
But both of them look at the other one with a little bit of jealousy. Yeah.
For sure. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm done.
You're welcome. You're good. You said to use an illuminator or meridian on meridian points. Is it better than the wand? It's better than the wand for meridians. If you're using it on the meridian points in the way that I said, those are smaller points. If you're using the wand for an area of the body, the wand could be better than the illuminator. We're just talking about methods of utilizing it. So if I were specifically looking to balance my meridians, I would use the illuminator because it's a targeted light therapy. If I were looking to heal my gut, I would use the wand because it's a larger space. So it's different. It depends on what you're trying to do. In the meridian system, I think the illuminator is better. That doesn't mean that the wand won't work. But if you have both choices, I would choose the illuminator for that. And if you are trying to heal your digestive system, I would use the wand over the illuminator. I ordered the Optimal Wellness supplements from their site. Is there a link you can share? I missed the name you just said. Debbie, which link are you asking for?
So you said you order the vitamins that you say you use, the Optimal Health. Those, was there an actual site that you went to before?
Oh, I misunderstood you. I thought you were saying that you have ordered from, but you said Optimal Wellness supplements. Okay. I thought you were saying that you already were buying Optimal Health System supplements, but you're saying you just want the link to get over there?
Yes.
So my personal link is digestionmatters.com. And that takes you there. Some people can't get in there, so I'm going to just drop that link inside of the chat.
I tried it and it didn't come through.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like when I just do it, it came up perfectly. But hang on, I'll drop it in. All right, so I just put it in the chat. Oh, yeah, it's in there. All right.
Been doing the parasite cleanse for that from them that I've had for a while.
Wait, whoever is speaking, it's coming through so low that I can't hear it.
It's Debbie.
Oh, okay.
I have had the parasite cleanse for a while and just now got around to taking it. What's funny is, so on my inner voice, it's been saying to do the parasite cleanse.
Okay.
And then this morning, even on my easy scan for the supplements, it said the same thing. And it's so funny because I've been doing it for about a week. So it's just funny how you were saying last week that you started to do something and then it starts showing up as, like you need this.
Yes. But again, that's the thing that you have to get out of. It's not saying you need it.
Right.
It's saying that there's an imbalance here somewhere.
Right.
Most people just read it as it's telling me I need it. Nope. It's just saying that there's too much energy, too little energy regarding this thing. And then we got to figure out what that means.
Well, it's been interesting reading it that way. It's
Yes.
a lot different.
Yeah. It's a paradigm shift. It's the only shift you got to make, but it's so massive of a shift. But the moment you make it, things just get a little bit easier.
They do,
And we
like,
stop freaking out as much.
Yeah, everything clicks in way easier. Like you can see more of the actual lines that match to
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
way easier that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm on her chat as she says it. I use the wand on the bottom of my feet for a half hour. I do the hub if I have specific issues. Would the half an hour on the feet be enough? Or should I do specific areas? No, that's enough. And that's what I do with my people when they are on the hub. I just wand the bottom of their feet while they're up there. Or while they
And then,
walk.
quick question. So you're saying the illuminator, but I have lasers. So lasers, the 6, whatever that one is, the red 6.
You have
whatever
the
one-
Solex lasers?
Yes.
So
So
your question
is that
your question has to do with what?
So you're saying to use the illuminator, but I have the laser. So the laser would be the same as like using the illuminator, correct?
Remind me, because I've gone through so
or
much.
on-
What did I say to use the illuminator on?
So like on the meridians to
Yes, for the
give light.
meridians. So on the meridians, if you have the Solex lasers, you're going to want to use a 635 nanometer red.
Yep.
That's the one, that's specifically the one you want to use for meridians.
Yep.
You're going to use
Yes.
other lasers if you're doing other things. But when
Correct.
you're looking to do the meridian protocol that I'm telling you about, that's the one to use.
Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, for those of you who don't have that, though, I don't want you to say, well, I don't have 635 nanometer. What do I use? Use whatever you have. But she has 635 nanometer. And 635 nanometer is just a little more powerful than the others when it comes to going into the meridian channel. And when you have that, you don't need to do it for, well, it depends on what we're actually doing. If you're looking to balance the meridians where you're going to be going to every meridian point, you only need about 20, 30 seconds, a minute tops. If you're utilizing a specific meridian system to do something different, then you're utilizing it differently. You might do it for a minute or two. But I'm just saying, she's got the 635, so I'm telling her to choose that one. When you broadcast to the illuminator, how long do you need to run it? It depends on what I was talking about. You're going to utilize it for however long I said that thing and just broadcast it the entire time. If we're talking about meridian points, if you're using the illuminator, you want to do it for at least 30 to 40 seconds per point.
All right. The issue that I'm dealing with is tenosynovitis in my left hand and my thumb and down into my wrist. And
Okay.
should I do like source points? Like
Yeah, I would do all of the source points on your hand. And if you're utilizing the illuminator, what is it? The illuminator you're going to be utilizing?
Well, that's what I figured would be the best.
Okay.
Based upon your,
Well, what else do you have?
I have everything.
Okay.
I have the wand. I don't have the hub in those lasers.
Okay, well, I would utilize the source points on your hand with the illuminator, and then I would also just wand your entire hand for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
See, that's what I mean by you're hitting the same areas, but you're utilizing different devices differently, because when you're wanding, you're getting underneath the skin and getting into that tissue. When you are utilizing the illuminator, you're trying to get that energy into the acupuncture channel, which takes it all throughout the body.
Okay. I'm dealing with pain because I'm it's not horrible, but it's I can feel that it's not right.
Yeah.
And I have to use it every day.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, got to do what you got to do there.
Yeah.
All right, we are almost done here. I don't have the illuminator, just the wand and 660, which is better for meridians. In that case, probably the wand, but it's such a larger thing that it's going to be harder to get it into the meridian channel. So in that case, you're going to want to hover it there for about a minute per point if you're using the wand. All right, everybody. Thank you for sticking in there with me for 3 hours, almost, give or take. We got 7 more minutes before we get to the 3-hour point, but let's not hit the 3-hour point. I think this is either our longest class or our second longest class. Thank you all for being here. We're going to be, thank you, Amy. We're going to be doing more with this next week. We're going to be doing more case studies next week. I'm going to try at some point to go over, to just do a class on the Excel spreadsheets. And those will be uploaded. The newest version will be uploaded. There's a version in there right now that's not the newest one. The newest version will be uploaded within the hour. And then at some point over the next couple of days, I'm going to break them up. So for those of you all who want to use them inside of Google Sheets, you can. Or if you're just a person where you're like, I don't care about the vitals, I don't care about the comprehensive, I don't care about the meridians, I don't care about the chakras, I just want to use inner voice. Well, you can just download that one. Go with it. Make a much smaller file. For those of you who just want to use the vitals or comprehensive, whatever you want to use. The reason that those tabs are there are not because you're expected to use every one of them. Find the thing that resonates with you and use that. And if none of this resonates with you, scan optimize, and listen to your tones. If you just do that, you will dramatically improve your life. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much. I will see you all soon. And for those of you who are watching us on other broadcasts, whether it's Facebook or YouTube, if you want to join us, there's a couple ways to do it. Head on over to drdarrellwellness.com/simplified, and you can join this course by just hopping on, or you can join the membership. It's all up to you. All right, everybody. I'll see you all soon. Thanks.
Thanks.